What is up, everybody? Welcome. And we are here today with Jewflix episode 15. We are so blessed to be having Ali and Leah Rosendorf with us today, discussing We've All Got a Piece of God in Us. So, a little bit about this dynamic these twins, proper amazing. So, Lee and Ali. Lee went to, here we go. Lee and Ali are both 20 years old, have a lot of experience here. Lee has lived in a Chabad community in London, and furthermore, she went to Israel and studied in the Mayanot Seminary. Her sister Ali, and she's currently studying occupational therapy. Unbelievable. Ali is part of the South African Union of Jewish Students. She is the VET's social media officer, and she's studying in her third year a Bachelor of Arts. Wonderful. And so now we're going to be discussing over here, and I'll leave it to you two to elaborate a little bit more. We're very excited about this topic of a small piece of God within each one of us, from the Chabad rabbis, and what this means. And take it away. Let's hear.
Thank you, Shimshon. So firstly, I'm Lee and I'm Ali. Okay, so what we're discussing is we wanted to give over this beautiful idea and other interesting concepts in Hasidus. So what Hasidus is, it's the secrets of the Torah. So it's the inner dimensions. It's the mystical aspect of the Torah, and it just and this is taken from the Lubavitcher Rebbe and other Chabad Rebbeim. So something like I personally struggle with sometimes in my service with God and in religion and stuff is to be able to serve him and do all like the mitzvahs and stuff like that with love, as opposed to just doing it because we're told to, and also otherwise doing it out of like obligation or fear of him. But basically this concept has kind of like helped me understand where I stand in my relationship with God, and helped me like connect to him on like a different level. And we know that our like relationship with Hashem fluctuates. It's up and it's down, but like it's all about trying to connect to him and trying to have that relationship with him, that we have that love and like we want to do things.
Yeah. So the quote that we decided to focus on is "Chelek Elekamim al Mamish," which in English translates as "we all have a literal piece of God within us."
So we use the term literal is expressed, and it's said mamish, like it's there, and they stress it. And it's very important to understand that it's not just talking, because sometimes when we quote things from the Torah, it's figuratively speaking, like we're not like talking in a literal sense. But the Alter Rebbe, who wrote the book, which I'll explain later, he said it's literal, like we literally have that piece of God within each of us. And it's just, that's how real it is. So this quote is found in the Tanya, which is a book written by the first Chabad Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe. And what the Tanya is the Alter Rebbe was getting a lot of questions from people saying about their service of God and their struggles and what they like had hardships in. So what he did is he wrote a book about answers. He doesn't actually write the questions, but he saw there was a commonality between the questions, and he wrote the answers. So it's kind of like a book of answers, and a way that we like, it helps us like live our lives in a beautiful way.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful because you're able to like learn these concepts, and there's no specific way in which you're supposed to understand it or how you're supposed to apply it to your life, but you can take this concept and apply it in any way. And
it teaches us how to serve God with like joy, with passion, with like happiness, and like that's the best way that we can do it. And it's all about finding like what connects with you, what makes you feel passionate, what makes you feel joy, and running with that, because that's what it's all about.
So basically this concept of having a literal piece of God within us actually comes up in a phrase in the first book of the Torah, Bereshis, where it speaks about the creation of the world, but like specifically here, the creation of man. So it says that he created man, sorry, let me just make sure I'm saying this right, in his image, but not only that, when he created man, it's learned that he breathed from his inners and breathed life into them. So in the Torah, the actual phrase says, and he, God, blew into his nostrils a soul of life.
And we learn the significance of the word to blow. So it doesn't just mean like, it's like when it uses the word blow, it means that there's an infusion. There's an infusion of the Jewish soul. And it's just saying that like when you blow, it's coming from your inner vitality. So we learn that we were created from God's inner vitality.
So
wait, sorry, our souls were created from within God's inner vitality.
This can be understood on like a more simple level and everything like that. To like compare it to an analogy. So I'm sure everyone can relate to this. It's like someone's birthday, and I know last week I blew up a whole bunch of balloons for my sibling's birthday. And it takes a lot of effort to actually blow up the balloon. You can't just use a little bit of breath from your throat. And I'm studying drama, so we learn a lot of like breathing techniques. And to blow up balloons, you have to breathe from deep. And it's not an easy task. So, and when you talk, like it's just when you're talking, it's more on a surface level. Like I can talk for like so long and just go carry on. But when you're like blowing something up and you're breathing, like you can't do it forever. Like you're gonna get tired much quicker than just breathing. And it comes from your own energy, and it really comes from within. You use your power. So there's another idea that's connected to this, is that when God was creating the world in the 7 days of creation, when he was creating everything other than man, sorry, let me go back a drop. Basically, oh yes, so it takes, okay, wait, can you explain this part?
So when God created the world, it's kind of explained in a fact that like the amount of effort for him to create the rest of the world is the same amount of effort, for example, it takes to say the letter hey. So in the Aleph Beit, like the way that you say the words, like the easiest one to say is the letter hey. And it's just like that.
Like you can try it at home on your screen there.
And that's how it says that God created the rest of the world. But then when it speaks about us and it speaks about our souls and our neshamas, it speaks about him breathing from within.
Yeah, so it's not surface level, but it rather comes really came from Hashem's like inner. And yeah, so as you mentioned, that blowing tires a person a lot more easily than speaking does, and it shows a greater exertion of effort and vitality rather than speaking.
Okay, so this description signifies that the soul originates in the innermost aspects of godliness. Our souls come from God's essence, and it says it comes from the deepest part of him. And when we use like a way to describe God, we describe him as both infinite and finite. He's like, we can't limit him to a word, we can't limit him to a concept, but we say like he's both within nature, he's within the world, and he's both beyond nature, he's beyond the world. And a way to explain this concept is there's a beautiful story of there was a class, like there's a rabbi that was teaching a class, and he said to the boys, okay, everyone draw a picture of the world or something. So they all drew pictures, different pictures that they wanted to draw, and he asked them then to present it to the class. So the one boy drew a picture and he held up the picture to the class. Okay, this is like a blank page, but you can just imagine. And he held up the picture and he said, okay, so this is the sun, this is the moon, this is the stars, this is the earth, these are the trees. And he pointed to everything. And then he said, and then in between all of those spaces, that's Hashem. And that's God. And the rabbi looked at the boy and he smiled and he saw like the naivety like of his like drawing and of his conception of the world. And he said to him like, that's so beautiful and that's so amazing that you like included God within your drawing. But let me just change a little bit of what you said. And he said that drawing is beautiful, but God is both he's this whole page, he's this whole drawing, he's everything, he's the sun, he's the moon, but he's also both beyond it. And that was just something that he said. He's like, he's both within the world and he's both beyond the world. And so when God breathed within us that peace, that literal piece of him, it's saying that he placed that literal piece of himself within us. He placed that little piece of infinity, that little piece of limitlessness within us, and that we're able to have and access.
So it's really interesting if you've spoken to someone who's overcome like a huge struggle or hardship, or if they've even just been in like a tough situation. It doesn't even have to be anything so hectic. Even sitting here, I've got an essay due in an hour's time, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There's no time. There's nothing. I'm just going to give up, right?
Which we all have had that before.
We've all been there. And they describe it afterwards that they don't actually know how they were able to get through it. They don't know where that little piece of strength came from within them, and they can't like describe it basically how they made it out.
And the essay example is just like a small like example.
Yeah,
so,
like tiny.
Like we all know people that have overcome huge barriers in their lives, overcome huge struggles, and they like, how did they do it? That they can't explain. They were just able to, and they were able to overcome their feelings and emotions, and they were able to get through it and become stronger.
So what's really beautiful is that from this concept that we've spoken about earlier, we learn that the reason why we're actually able to do this is because we're able to tap into that small piece of God within us. So that helps us overcome something, and we're able to like accomplish beyond what we would understand is actually possible. We live in a natural world. Like there's trees, there's things that you can see, tangible stuff. And when we overcome something with this like great strength, it might seem that it's like unnatural and you're saying like, where did this come from and whatever. But what's amazing is that it's actually like, in essence, it's the most natural thing.
Because our connection to Hashem, us tapping into that, us connecting to him, asking him to help us, it's the most natural thing. It's within us. It's something that's so part of us that it's not something that should be foreign to us.
Yeah, because we have this, like Lee described earlier, mamish, a literal piece of Hashem within us, which allows us to tap into the unlimitedness of Hashem.
And we learn that like our challenge in life is to like see this piece of God within us and connect to it and learn and grow in that connection. And it's difficult at times, but when we like recognize that it's there, and we recognize the strength that like he gives us each and every day and the vitality that he gives us, the more we connect, the easier it is to connect, and the more like we make it like something that we're going to try to do. And this comes in the idea of Ahavat Yisrael, which is loving your fellow Jew. And we learned earlier that like we learned that all of our souls are connected. They're all source. They all come from God. And it's actually, when it explains a soul, it uses a beautiful analogy, which is a candle, which is a flame. So when you take a flame and you light another candle, it doesn't take away from the original flame, but they're all connected. And then you light another candle. You can light thousands and thousands and millions of candles with the same flame, and that same flame remains the same, but they're all connected at the source, that they all came from the same thing. And that's how we are described like in our souls, that we all come from the same source. We're all connected to one another, but we're still like separate because we live in this physical world. So when we're going to connect that to Ahavat Yisrael, loving your fellow Jew, it's the idea that we all have that piece of God within us. And sometimes when we find it difficult to, like we see something we don't like in someone, or we don't get along with someone, which happens like very often because like personalities like clash and everything like that. When we're able to look at them for saying like they have that piece of God, like they have that essence that we have, and we're connected at the source, and we're able to drop those physical barriers that we like look at, we're able to love the person for who they are and connect to them in that sense, which is really beautiful. And we're so special and unique as a nation, as we all have a neshama, a soul. And this idea brings across that this inner piece of God makes us so unique and so connected to one another.
I personally love that small like quote or concept or whatever, because really when you bring it down to the essence, like everyone talks about this all the time, it's all over the media and stuff, that we're all the same, all like black, white, any like religion, whatever, we're all the same. So too in our Judaism, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter how you serve God, doesn't matter
what
if
you
you
keep,
serve
like,
God, just whatever you keep, they all just
labels.
Yeah.
It's something that's
physicality, or it's not
on the surface level.
Yeah.
It's not who you are inside. And it's like,
so once you take away all of that, we're all just all come from God, and we're all here for the same purpose.
And we're all just ultimately connected to one another.
Yeah.
And then with this concept, we just want to bring across like another beautiful story that when we like have things in life, and it's about like tapping into that piece of God and saying like we want him to help us, and we should always turn to him when we have like struggles and everything. And there was a boy, and there was a rabbi in a town somewhere in Europe, and he went to him and he said to him like, I don't have any money, I don't know what to do, I'm like totally like poor, like I can't afford anything like that. And he said, please give me a blessing to be wealthy and have money. And the rabbi said to him like, okay, why don't you go to this town, and there's a very rich man, and he's very kind and he's very giving. Like, go to him and he'll help you out. So this boy was like, this is how I'm gonna get on my feet. I'm gonna do it. And he had like literally half a coin, half a penny left in that he owned. So he took that and he got a horse and carriage. He went on a wagon to
Got his right there.
He went on his wagon and he went to this man's house, and he went to the guy's door and he knocked on his door, and this smiling man came out and he like turned to him and he was like, hi, this is my name. This Reba sent me, and I don't have any money, and I heard that you give charity and you're such a kind man. Like, I want to ask you for some charity. And this man looked at him, he's like, of course. He smiles and he's like, here you go. You just wait. Yeah, I'll go get you something. And he goes, and this boy's
like, this is my moment, guys. Like, it's happening. All my prayers and everything's answered. This is the man.
And he and the man comes and he opens his bag and he gives him half a coin, and he smiles and he's like, you're so welcome. Like, don't spend it too soon. Like, you enjoy. And this boy like looks at this man and he's just like, okay, like,
I'm sorry,
like, what's going on here? But like, you can't be rude to someone who just gave him some charity. So he said like, okay, like, thank you very much. And he like walked away, and he was just like a bit taken aback, and he was like, okay. And he thought, okay, it costs half a shekel to go home. I mean, half a coin to go home. Like, it's not even worth, he might as well walk home. And he started walking, and it started like getting dark, and it started raining.
And in all these stories, obviously it's a tough night out there,
as it happens. And he starts walking, and he just gets to the point that he just calls out to God, and he said, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you giving me all these hardships? Why are you like, you're not giving me a helping hand. Like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I need your help. Like, I can't do this alone. Like, I need you. And this man had been following him, and this man turns to him and he says, listen, come back home with me. And he took him home, and he gave him something to drink, and he warmed him up, and he said to him, I needed to teach you a lesson. And as soon as I heard that the rabbi sent you, that rabbi sent you here, I knew that it had something to do with, I don't know what. And he said, when you came to me, you put all of your hopes and you put all of your trust in me helping you. And he said, it's not me that's helping you, it's God that's helping you. And if I would have just given you the money, you would have thanked me. You would have said, oh, it comes from this man, he's so kind. But you wouldn't have seen the true source of where it comes from. But when you reach the breaking point, and when you said like, God, I need your help, like, I need it, like, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, he said, that's when I realized, that's when I decided I'm going to give it to you and I'm going to help you out. And he gave him a huge bag of gold coins, and this boy was sent. And it's just something that he wanted to teach this boy. And this boy realized that when we have struggles and when we have hardship, we can turn to one another for help and for advice, and we can try our best to do that. But at the end of the day, it comes from God, and it comes from us tapping within that peace, and us tapping to that, to try and connect to him, and trying to be like, I need your help, and I need you to help me overcome this. I need you to help me in this certain sense. And with that,
so ultimately we have to use this like small piece of God within us, and bring it out in order to do good deeds and to serve God and have a vice love to fellow. Ultimately, by doing this, this is how we're gonna like get taken out of this exile that we're in, which is called galus in Hebrew, and be taken into Geula, which is the redemption.
And it's all about like tapping into that peace that's like beyond nature, like it's totally infinite, and saying to God, like, take us out of this, like this exile that we're in. We want you to break nature for us. We want you to go beyond, and we want to do it with you. And we're asking him to do that with us, and we're asking him to go beyond that with us. And it's all about connecting to him and asking him for that help. And
yeah, and it's just about doing small things. It's not, you don't have to do the massive thing. You don't have to take on the massive thing. But it's just about seeing in yourself that you connect to God, and know that there is always that connection, no matter where you're at, and that you're always able to tap into it, and be able to
recognize that like connection.
And uplift yourself. Yeah. So that's Philip. Shimshon?
Mamash incredible. Thank you so much. Really uplifting words over there. If I may, that was just such a important message in this time when we're struggling to overcome challenges, to be able to tap into something which is the deeper parts of us. If I can just ask a question on
Sure.
one of the points you raised, wonderful, is about, you mentioned there that we have this capability to come into contact with this godly soul, and with that we're able to look at people and see their godly soul and like deal with them in an appropriate way. What are some of the techniques that you could recommend to our viewers and how to do that?
Okay, so so something that like I would say in that regard is that sometimes like when we come up like when we're having a disagreement with someone, or when we have like an issue with someone else, it's important for us to like look at it, look at the situation, and take that step back and not say like, okay, well, I'm like trying to like figure out like I need to like be friends with you.
Don't think of yourself.
We need to work at like you need to like go beyond yourself, and you need like take that step back and just look at the situation as it is and say like, okay, I'm gonna breathe and I'm just gonna look at it. Like, is it really so important that we don't agree on this thing? Or like, is it like really so important that we like come from different, like we have different ideas and we have different views on the world, but we just like, but like since like you come from that same source, and saying that like because you are like ultimately connected, like we're able to take that step back and say like, okay, I can like accept for you who you are and your different views and your different beliefs, but still like not agree with them specifically, but still have that like level of respect. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's basically it. It's just to see the other person for also being a small piece of God and having it within them, and judging them in a favorable way, and with kindness, Abba Israel.
I think, yeah, that's just, if that,
does that answer?
Incredible, perfect, very much. That's wonderful. Thank you. And thank you to everybody for watching. If you'd like to see more of Wuja's Jewflix, check it out on YouTube, World Union of Jewish Students, on Twitter @JewishStudents, #Jewflix, and on Facebook, of course. And I'd like to thank, of course, our two guest speakers over here. Thank you so much to Ali and Lee. Really inspiring and uplifting talk. Thank you.